When we think of beauty in nature, we might immediately think of the mountains, the seas, and the flowers. And we always say, nature is beautiful because the place we live in is so majestic. And so, we need to be responsible in the place we call home.
Learning goals characterize eco-literacy. Second, identify ways to develop eco-literacy. Third, state the image of ecologically literate person. And the last is environmental education. What is eco-literacy? Well, 2017, the ability to understand the organization of natural systems and the processes that maintain the healthy functioning of living system and sustain life on Earth. It is the power that comes from knowledge and consciousness of how nature system operate. One of the most urgent issues facing humanity is fixing our broken relationship with the Earth on which all life depends.
According to Fritjof Capra, in the coming decades, the survival of humanity will depend on our ecological literacy, our ability to understand the basic principles of ecology and to live accordingly. This means that eco-literacy must become a critical skill for politicians, business leaders, and professionals in all spheres, and should be the most important part of education at all levels, from primary and secondary schools to colleges, universities, and the continuing education and training of professionals. The first question that we need to answer is how to be literate ecologically. First is we need to develop empathy for all forms of life. One of the things you can teach kids is to have the compassion for all forms of life, big or small. You have to let them know that all of us are interconnected. For example, we all need water to live by making our kids realize that we teach them how to take care of our environment, because whatever we do, it will either benefit or distract other living organisms as well. Next is embrace sustainability as a community practice. Our interdependence with other living things also teaches us for our interdependence with our community. The community, when working as one, will make our environmental goals more sustainable. Ecological literacy and system thinking implies a recognition of the manner in which all phenomena are part of networks that define the way that element function. System thinking is necessary to understand complex interdependence of ecological systems, social systems, and other systems on all levels.
The next will be make the invisible as visible. However, the global economy has developed blinders that prevent many of us from seeing the long-term consequences of our activities. It has been difficult and continues difficult for many people to comprehend that we are disturbing something on the scale of the Earth's climate as we have grown our use of fossil fuel, for example. Although certain parts of the world are beginning to perceive signs of climate change, the majority of us do not. We may perceive strange weather on a daily basis, but daily weather is not the same as long-term climate disruption. We must find ways to make visible the things that appear unseen if we want to establish more life-affirming ways of existence. Educators can assist through a variety of methods. They can use incredible web-based resources like Google Earth to allow kids to virtually travel to other locations and countries and explore the terrain. Students can communicate directly with individuals in remote locations using social networking websites and understand personally what others are going through that most students are unaware of. The next is anticipated unintended consequences. Many of the environmental crises that we face today are the unintended consequences of human behavior. For example, we have experienced many unintended but grave consequences of developing the technological ability to access, produce, and use fossil fuels. These new technological capacities have been largely viewed as progress for our society, but recently, public becomes aware of the downside of the dependency of fossil fuels, such as pollution, suburban, sprawl, international conflict, and climate change. And lastly, understand how nature sustains life. Eco-literate people recognize that nature has sustained life for eons. As a result, nature becomes their teacher and they learn several crucial tenets. First of all, eco-literate people learned from nature that all living organisms are part of a complex, interrelated web of life, and that those who live in a given location rely on their interconnectedness for survival. The planet facing its greatest crisis, we simply can't afford to stand by and do nothing.
Dr. Tom Pugh, 2002, from the Department of Lifelong Learning, Lakehead University, he presented an image of the ecologically literate person. According to him, an eco-literate person should be an inquirer. An eco-literate person actively secures the basic skills and knowledge to carry out ecological responsibilities. For example, recycle responsibly. It helps conserve the resources and reduces air and water pollution, saying no to burning of plastics, and switching to renewable energy sources. The second is the reflective learner. He or she understands the values and limitations of the human knowledge, power, and natural world. The role of intuition in real-life pursuits. Next is the intelligently self-directed. A person engages in self-appraisal, sets new learning objectives, carry out plans in a flexible manner, and reflects after the process. Morally responsible. A person governs his or her personal actions with precepts, such as responsibility in helping others, seeking justice and equality, living harmony with people and with nature. Ecologically responsible. He or she embodies ecological ideas every time of the day. It is a duty to protect and maintain the sustainable environment. Protect, conserve, and preserve the ecosystem. And the last image is self-transcendent. It is a person's characteristics that expands and moves beyond his personal boundaries, being selfless, having such importance with oneself and to the others.
For environmental principles, 1. Nature knows best. Nature has its ways of doing things.
If we go against it, it may cause imbalance and destruction of the ecosystem.
Is all forms of life are important. All organisms were created for a purpose in relation to humans. Variety of life forms manifested by the different levels of biological diversity community, species and genes contributes to the stability of the environment. Food webs, food chains, and ecological relationships link plants and animals together in the web of life. Even bacteria, insects, snakes, and rats have ecological functions, even though humans perceive them as parasites or pets.
Everything is connected to everything else. Every organism in this planet is interdependent to each other in terms of food and the way they live. For example, in energy consumption, energy is the universal operational currency that runs through all of nature's interrelated lives and inanimated forms. This energy propels nature by traveling through interconnected networks.
The fourth principle is that everything changes. The environment is constantly changing. Organisms also develop through time. However, with our current technology, we have affected these natural changes that these changes now causes problematic events to us. Humans should rethink their relationship with the environment because what they believe that is beneficial to the environment often turn out to be catastrophic. Is everything must go somewhere. Everything ends up elsewhere. It doesn't just disappear. For example, if you throw a piece of candy wrapper away, it disappears from sight but does not cease to exist. It ends up elsewhere. Gases released in the atmosphere may spread, but it will end up a component of the atmosphere and can be brought down by rains. Any particular type of waste should always be concerned to us. It may be a pollutant or a resource depending on certain factors. Be a responsible person and throw your trash in a proper place. Principle is ours is a finite earth. Earth's resources can be classified as either renewable or non-renewable. Renewable resources are those that can be easily replenished by natural cycles such as water, air, plants, and animals, while non-renewable resources are those that cannot be replenished through natural cycles. Although renewable resources can be replenished, it is important to understand that these are renewable only if they are not overused and not destroyed from factors such as pollution. The nature is beautiful and we are stewards of God's creation. Among all creatures, humans are the only ones made in God's image and have been given the right to have dominion over all His creations. Being the most intelligent and gifted with reasons, humans are capable of manipulating creation to their own advantage. Yet, creation exists not to be ravaged or abused, but to be taken care of. Humans cannot exist without nature. They are co-natural with the environment they live in.
Making schools dark green schools. This state recognizes the important role of the schools in the promotion of environmental education. On December 12, 2008, the Congress passed the Republic Act No. 9521, also known as the National Environmental Awareness and Education Act of 2008. This is an act to promote the environmental awareness to environmental education and for other purposes. This act orders the Department of Education, the Commission of Higher Education, the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, the Department of Social Welfare and Development, in coordination with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, the Department of Science and Technology, and other relevant agencies shall integrate environment education in its school's curricula at all levels, whether public or private, including barangay daycare, preschool, non-formal, technical vocational, professional level, indigenous learning, and out-of-school youth courses or programs. Also, on July 2011, the Department of Education passed the DepEd Order 52 Series of 2011 entitled Strengthening Public and Private Schools, where DepEd urges all public and private schools to lead the role on environmental awareness by enhancing environmental education and by pursuing effective school-based activities that seek to preserve and protect the environment. And now, let us discuss what is environmental education. The environmental education is a process that allows individuals to explore environmental issues, engage in problem solving, and take action to improve the environment. So as a result, individuals develop deeper understanding of environmental issues and have the skills to make informed and responsible decisions. Environmental education is also an advocate or viewpoint of course and action. Rather, environmental education teaches individuals how to weigh various sides of an issue through critical thinking, and it enhances their problem solving and decision making skills. So here's 5 components of environmental education. First is the awareness and sensitivity to the environmental challenges,
Knowledge and understanding of the environmental and environmental challenges, attitude of concern for the environment, and motivation to improve or maintain environmental equality.
Skills to identify and help resolve environmental challenges.
the participation in activities that lead to the resolution of the environmental challenges.
Trivia. Do you know that in America, there's a survey stated that a average American can name 1,000 corporate brands, but only 10 plants native to the region? It can be alarming, right? Tending to be exceedingly ignorant of the environment and the natural world, when environmental issues are becoming more and more serious. The only solution is to introduce ecological and environmental concepts starting from kids up to the adults. According to Rhoda Santillan Tayag, to have an eco-literate lifestyle is a step to reducing world issues. Tayag pointed out, and I quote, When we become eco-literate, we become more responsive to the conditions of our environment. End of quote. So that is eco-literacy, and how can we be an eco-literate person? I will just leave a text here saying, we can all play a role in the fight against climate change. Climate is changing, and so should we.